Have the migration preferences changed over last 20 years? Is the topic of discussion for this presentation. And to be more specific, let me clarify how and why these migration preferences have changed over last 20 years. That is what we are going to discuss. And on one side, we have four main countries where maximum migration happens. Those are United States, UK, Canada, and Australia. Out of that, US gives green card which is similar to a PR. UK has a concept of leave to remain. But in both these countries, if you want to get this kind of PR, you will have to work first for few years. There is no direct PR route generally available. Whereas the next two countries, Canada and Australia, openly promote migration and they have a proper structured migration program and you can apply for PR directly from overseas. So we have these countries on one side, and on the other side we have Singapore. Now it is not an apple to apple comparison because the number of migrants these countries take and the number of migrants Singapore takes as a PR is significantly different. Singapore only gives 30,000 PRs per year, whereas these countries together might be giving around half a million permanent residency every year. Now, when I look at this compared to 20 years back, the preferences have definitely changed. 20 years back, generally people always wanted to settle either in USA, UK, Canada, or Australia. And Singapore, they have always seen at that time as a stepping stone. That means they will work in Singapore for a couple of years and after that they will migrate to one of these countries. This was the trend at that point of time. But when I look at it today, the trend has completely reversed. Now people are more interested, if possible, to stay in Singapore. They will like to, if they are working in Singapore, they will like to get a PR here, settle here, and only if they don't have this option, then only they will explore these other countries. So let's have a look as to why this has happened and what has changed in this 20 years because of which these preferences have changed. The first point is about good salaries. So what has happened is compared to Western economies, the salary levels in Singapore have gone up significantly over last 20 years. In some cases, you can even get more salary compared to Western countries in Singapore, especially if you are into technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and related disciplines. Over last 20 years, Asia has been on a continuous rising path, and this is now reflected in the business growth that Asia has achieved. Nowadays, there are a lot of big businesses eyeing in Asia, and the first place they think of setting up their operations is Singapore. In addition to that, in Asia and technology front, there are a lot of startups and things going on. For example, you take case of IT technologies, blockchain, fintech. Singapore is considered to be a fintech capital of Asia. There are 3,000 fintech startups in Singapore right now, which are working with various banks and all that. So people are thinking if I get same salary as that of Canada or Australia in Singapore, why should I really go to Australia or Canada at all? That is the thinking people have started developing. Here I present you a graph which shows you per capita income growth of Singapore from 1995 till 2020. So if you look at this 2000 mark, the per capita income was around 33,000 Singapore dollars. And now today in 2020, it is around 60,000 Singapore dollars. Almost near to 100% increase in the per capita income has been achieved. Moving on to the next slide, Singapore offers significantly low personal tax rates. So the taxes that you pay to the government are significantly low. And here I present a comparison of Australia and Singapore. So if you are having $100,000 income in Australia, you will incur taxes of 22,967 Australian dollars. Whereas for same income in Singapore, you will pay taxes of 5,650 Singapore dollars, which is a significant difference. If you are a high income earner, if your income is 300,000 Australian dollars, you will pay almost one third of your income at 105,666 by way of taxes. Whereas in Singapore, the taxes that you will pay are 40,550. It is still around 11 or 12% of your income. So, this is a significant advantage of being in Singapore at any income level as your personal tax rates are significantly low. The next important point is about the distance. Now, this is the map of Asia, and the red dot that you see at the center of this circle is where Singapore is located. And this circle in blue color represents 5 hours of flight time. That means from Singapore, if you have to reach to any place within this circle, you will reach within 5 hours or less than 5 hours. Now, this region covers some of the most populous countries in the world, that is India, Bangladesh, China, Philippines, and Indonesia. And these are the places from where the maximum migration happens. So, the benefit of Singapore is that you can reach back to your home country or hometown in 5 hours or less flight time. Because the flight time is less, in most of the circumstances, you will get direct flights, and the air tickets will also be cheaper. Prior to COVID, these were available less than $500 normally for 5 hours flight time anywhere. I don't know what happens after COVID, but I hope that that kind of prices will continue. So, if you have any emergencies at your home, back in your home country, you can travel immediately. If there are festivals, not a problem, you can take a weekend flight, go and meet your relatives, and come back to Singapore over a night flight on Sunday night. Now, think of doing same thing from Canada to Indonesia. It will take minimum 24 hours with at least one or two connecting flights, significant jet lag, and significant efforts and cost in that. Similarly, if you are in Australia and trying to go back to India, it's also 17 or 18 hours journey and quite tiring. The next point is about public transport. Now the problem is in majority parts of USA, Canada and Australia, there is not much public transport infrastructure. In United Kingdom, yes, public transport is there, but it is not also of the quality like Singapore. So you invariably need to have your own car. And if you are a family with kids, then you possibly need two cars to maintain. Obviously, that cost you will have to bear. Maintenance of the car, petrol, everything will come significantly high. Moreover, afterwards you realize that every work you need a car and you have to drive it. For example, if you want to drop your kids to the school, you have to drive. If you want to fetch them back from the school, you will have to drive. If your kids are going for enrichment classes, some hobbies, tennis lessons, or anything like that, every time you will have to take out your car, drive them to the location, maybe wait there, and after the classes, bring them back to your house. Singapore does not have this kind of problem. Singapore has a world class public transport infrastructure where there is a connectivity within 5 minutes walking distance from any house in Singapore. When you get down off your housing block or your condo, there is a bus stop. If you walk for 10 more minutes, there will be an MRT station. So generally public transport is exceptionally well. And this is one of the benefits. Only 25 or 30% of families in Singapore own car. Rest other people actually rely on public transport. One more point to note is that taxis are also very cheap in Singapore. Approximately 5 to 8 kilometers journey you will pay in Singapore $15 to $20. Same journey you do it in Canada or Australia, you will end up paying at least $50. That is what I understand. The next point is about loneliness. Now, what happens in countries like Canada and Australia, especially, these are very vast countries, and the style of living is also slightly different. Like you have your own independent house, and that is quite far off from the next house. You don't really see people as often as you see in Asia. You might go out on the road and you might find the road completely empty. Now, this is perfectly okay. I mean, that's not an issue. But what happens for many Asians, it creates a feeling of loneliness. However, if you consider Singapore, it is a city country and the Singapore density of population is 7,000 per square kilometer. So loneliness is not a problem. You can just go out if you feel lonely, get out of your house, go into some shopping mall, maybe go into the food court there, eat some food, and your loneliness feeling will be gone. In addition to this, in some of these countries like Canada, a problem of depression is also experienced by many migrants, especially during the period of winter where the day is very short and night starts at around 4 o'clock in the evening. However, such a problems are not there in Singapore. The next point is about food. Food is very important, and Singapore has got a concept of food court where you can get one-time meal of for $3 to $5, which is very cheap. Also, variety is normally available. The food court will have typically multiple stalls selling food, and you will find Indian, Indonesian, Malaysian, Chinese, Hokkien, and maybe even Western also in many places. Whereas in other countries, normally the food court options are limited. I mean, there are not many food courts over there. Primarily, you have to go to restaurants, and restaurants will be definitely costly. Moving on to the next point, education. Singapore universities, NTU and NUS appear in top 13 universities worldwide. Local education quality is also very good. Some of the Singapore top schools, secondary schools, are well known to produce students who go to excel in various disciplines in US and UK universities. Now, Asians normally tend to worry about these aspects more, like they are more interested or more concerned about the quality of education for their children. Now, I am not saying that Westerners or people from Canada and Australia are not interested. I guess they will be also equally interested. But if you settle in Canada or Australia, you may not get the best school and the best universities options over there. In Singapore, you get it because Singapore is a city state and there are so many schools over here in this small place. The next point also is about Asian aspect, that is Asian upbringing of children. So Asians prefer to bring their children in an Asian way. That is obvious because we all were born and brought up in this manner. So we don't want our children to become totally westernized. And that is where Singapore is the best place. So what do I mean by totally westernized? So what happens in Western culture, there is a practice that at the age of 18, your children will leave your house and they will start living on their own. The concept of personal choice and privacy and options is quite strong in Western culture, which is not so in Asia. Now, I don't want to get into the discussion of what is good and what is bad, but since Asians prefer that, so what do Asians prefer? They prefer that their children should stay with them till the age the children get married. And that might be till the age of 25, 28, which is not a practice in most of the Western countries. Asians prefer that they will pay for the university education of their children, and in return, children will also take their care or will stay with them for a longer duration. Moving on to the next point, domestic help is available, what we typically call as maid. So if you have been to Singapore, if you are staying in Singapore, you know about this concept. So you can bring domestic help from countries like Philippines, Indonesia, India, maybe Burma, and few other countries. The typical salary will be $600. On top of that, you will pay another $200 by way of maid's levy, 260 or something like that. And in addition to that, you will have some expenses on account of food and clothing and all that. So maid will typically cost you $800 to $1,000 Singapore in total. The maid will live in your house. Typically, every condominium will have a small maid room. And the maid will help and assist in all domestic functions like cooking of food, general cleaning, clothes washing, taking care of elderly, and so on. This is one of the best attraction when it comes to Singapore. I do not think this kind of facility is available either in US, Canada, UK, or Australia. You will have to do all your work by yourself in these countries. So now if you consider all these points, it's very clear that if possible, people want to stay in Singapore over other migration options.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel today. PR Application is a leading immigration consultancy company in Singapore.